I know we're almost in the second week of March, but I haven't done a January and February wrap up yet. So that is what we are going to talk about today. So let's get into it. Hi friend, welcome or welcome back to my channel. We need to talk because in January and February I read 20 books. 20. And honestly, I don't know if my brain is fried, enlightened, maybe emotionally unstable all at once. Some of these books really changed my life. Some of them shattered my soul. So yeah, we'll get into it. Buckle up. Grab a snack if you want to, maybe get something to drink and prepare for an unhinged roller coaster of opinions because this reading wrap up is going to be a wild ride. We started January off strong with Metal Slinger. I am going to read you the little blurb because truth be told, I cannot remember much of the book. I just remember bits and pieces, and I remember that the ending was really good, and that's what bumped it up to a 5-star read for me. But now that I'm thinking about it, just because I can't remember as much from the book as I hoped I would, I will probably bring it down to a 4-star because it was still a really good book. I just did not connect to the characters as I hoped I would. But yeah, without further ado, let me just read a little blurb for you. It says, Metal Slinger throws you into a world of rebellion, lost magic, and an enemies to lovers romance dripping with tension. Bryn, a young guard, accidentally shatters a century-long peace treaty and crosses paths with an enemy soldier who might not be the villain she thought. With food shortages, political unrest, and a mysterious visitor stirring up secrets, Bryn is forced to question everything, including her own heart. If you love high-stakes fantasy with forbidden magic and just the right amount of angst, this one's for you. Prepare for betrayal, intrigue, and longing glances that could kill. It was a really good book. Like I said, I don't remember the whole lot of it, but what I do remember of it, it was quite good. And I think the ending of the book makes it really worth it. So I would definitely recommend that one. Next, I read The Nightingale from Kristen Hanna. So you thought you could read this book without ugly crying? Think again. Kristen Hanna came for my emotions and I let her. If you love historical fiction, then this one might be for you. Or let me rephrase. If you love historical fiction that whips your heart out and hands it back to you in shreds, read this. But also prepare to question your emotional stability. This follows two sisters in the Second World War? Yes, Second World War. And it's a story about what it's like to be a woman when you are in war, because usually women tend to be overlooked in these eras. So it follows these two sisters and just their journeys through the war and how they experience it from both their sides. It was a really emotional read. I had to constantly put it down and pick it back up again because it was such a heavy book, but it was so good, and I gave it 5 stars. I read the Kindred's Curse saga by Penn Cole as well in January. That includes the Spark of the Everflame, Glow of the Everflame, and Heat of the Everflame. And that pretty much is about a mortal world that is colonized by gods, and then their offspring, the descended, rule over all of these people. Our main female character's name is DM, and she's a healer, and she used to work with her mum, but then her mum goes missing. She finds out, like after her mum's disappearance, that her mum had all these secrets, especially involving the royals. So the royals are kind of, there's one person in particular that's kind of wary of her and just keeping an eye on her, but I can't say too much without spoiling everything. But there was a lot of political intrigue, there was a lot of angst, there was a lot of tension. The whole series feels like one big slow burn, and I'm not gonna lie, DM kind of frustrated me. It got to a point where I started seeing things happening before she did, or figured it out before she did, which got really frustrating. But it was overall a really good series, and I would definitely recommend it. I gave it, I think I gave all of the books 4 stars. I'll have to double check on that, but it was a really good series. Just prepare to feel very frustrated with the main character at times, but other than that, it was a really good series and I really recommend it. Now we're switching gears a bit to self-help real quick. I read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. This book basically called me out on every excuse I've ever made in my life. It's all about breaking through your own self-imposed limits, like when you reach your upper limit. And honestly, if you need a book to drag you into your best self, I would really recommend this one. I don't give star ratings to self-help books because I don't really see the point, but I think it is a really good book to give a read if you feel like you can constantly are trying to do things, but when you do them, something always comes up. I really recommend. Next, I read A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 5th book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. You probably have heard of it before. It's been the talk of book talk of booktube, the talk of everywhere there is books for a really long time, so I can't give too much away without giving away the whole plot, I guess. But this is the 3rd time I've reread this book, and every time I reread it, I'm getting further and further away from the romance. It just does not do anything for me. Unpopular opinion. I really love Cassian as like a brotherly figure towards Feyre, but I did not care for the spice in this book. I did not care for the romance. I was here for the friendships between Nesta and her new friends. I was here for Nesta's character development. So don't come for me. But the romance in the book this time around just was not it. It was not it for me. But I still think it was a really good book. Nesta's character development in this is amazing. I don't know how Sarah does it, but yeah, she writes phenomenal characters. So I'm very excited to see what happens to Azriel when his book comes out, whenever. Next up, I have Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, and this book was a storm of emotions. That's what it was. I was so confused throughout this whole book. Even when I read the last page, I was still so confused. I had no clue what's going on here. I still don't know who Llewellyn is. I have no clue. No clue. Did I enjoy it? Absolutely. I loved it. I liked it. Was the writing confusing? Also, absolutely. Like I said, I still have no clue what's going on. But I do think everybody went into this book with really high expectations, myself included. And I think I forgot that there are 2 more books that have to come out. So why did I expect that we were actually going to get a lot of answers? I don't know. I don't know. Overall, I think I rated this book like 3.75 stars. I love the world. I still really love the characters. Riddick was everything in this book. He was everything. I can pretty much say that I read this book for Riddick because he was everything. He was the best character in this book. If you haven't read the 4th Wing series, this probably won't make a lot of sense. 4th Wing is about Violet Sorrengail. She goes to Basgiath War College, and there she learns to ride dragons and other things. That's all I'll say. Thank you for coming. Sorry. I also read 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and listen, Nina and Matthias own my soul. That's it. That's the review. That's it. I did not care for this book. I feel like it was really good. It just wasn't. No, it wasn't really good. It was good. It just was not my cup of tea. I don't know why. I really wanted to love this book so much, but I just did not. It's about a heist with 6 friends, and the only 2 characters in this book I really liked were Nina and Matthias, and it was just because of the tension and the chemistry between them. But this is obviously not a romance book. It's a fantasy book, and it's about these 6 friends that go on a heist, and they are trying to, I can't really say without giving anything away, but I would give it 3.75. I still do want to read Crooked Kingdom. I've heard really good things about Crooked Kingdom, and then I want to continue on the series by reading King of Scars and Rule of Wolves, something like that. I really wanted to read that because I am very intrigued by Nikolai's story. This was just unfortunately a miss for me, and it's not something that I would reread, but I am glad that I finally finished it. So there's that. I also picked up an audio book called Maybe This Time by Cara Stone. I love her Audible book. It's just cute and funny rom-coms, and they just lighten your soul. It's like a light and fluffy hug. It's like a warm cup of coffee. So Maybe This Time follows Mikey and June, and June falls into a wormhole and her cell phone works, but it only calls one number, and that is Mikey's number. He is a colleague she works with, and he is trying to help her get back from the future. That's pretty much all that I can tell you. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. I really liked just the cute, light, fluffy feels of it. It is definitely worth a listen. Switching back to self-help, I read Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think we all read Atomic Habits at the beginning of the year. Am I a better person after reading this book? To be determined. But did this book slap me with the reality check that I needed about my habits? Absolutely. If you want practical advice on actually sticking to new habits, James Clear's got your back. This book was really good for that. It was actually really practical. I'm not someone who annotates, but I annotated. This is a lot for me. I do not annotate. It was really good. I really recommend it if you want to start just switching up your habits a bit, because sometimes we need a little bit of change in our lives, you know? Change is as good as a holiday. I don't know who said that, but you're welcome. And then while I was busy, I stayed on the self-help train and I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And this book pretty much bullies you into being a morning person, but like in a motivational way. If you ever wanted to feel superior before 8 a.m. while the rest of the world just hits their snooze buttons, that one is for you. I would highly recommend it. I also want you to prepare to feel personally attacked if you just don't have time for self-improvement, because that's what that book tells you. It just attacks you like a rabid dog. But it was really good. It did open my eyes to see that we do not need a lot of time to actually make small changes in our lives, which was really good. So I would highly recommend that you pick up that book as well. I also picked up The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. So this follows Kiva, who is the prison healer. She was sent to the prison when she was really young with her dad, and she's waiting to be rescued by her family, but she is also being rescued with the rebel queen, Tilda. So Tilda comes to the prison, but she's very, very sick, and they are expecting Tilda to stand trial, but Kiva tells them, yo, people, Tilda is sick. She ain't even conscious. She cannot compete. I will compete in her place. The trial is called the trial by ordeals, so she has 4 elemental trials that she needs to compete in order to save her life and Tilda's life, and that means if she completes all 4 trials and survives, they both can be set free without any qualm about it. So, you know, they can just go, see ya, we're leaving now. But obviously a lot of things happen and they don't necessarily work out the way they should. But in saying that, I did enjoy the book. I would give it 3.75 stars. It was an enjoyable read, but it wasn't as high stakes as I thought it was going to be. It is very YA. It wasn't that high stakes, but it wasn't a bad read. I really enjoyed the writing. The writing was very beautiful. I do, however, plan on finishing the series because it's been on my shelf for ages. I am about 20% into the next book, so I'm hoping that I will enjoy the rest of the series, but I've come to understand that I don't think YA is for me anymore, unfortunately, but we'll see. We'll give it a go. I also picked up King of Pride by Anna Huang. I adore Anna Huang's books. I don't know what it is. I just love her books. Her books are like crack to me. I will read everything she puts out. I love it. I read her Twisted series. I really love that, and I would recommend her to anybody because I just love her romance books. King of Pride follows Isabella and Kai, and I would describe Kai as a buttoned up, emotionally unavailable businessman. I would pretty much describe Isabella as a fun, flirty, gin loving, tequila loving, you know, she's just a good time. This book is pretty much what if Mr. Darcy actually let himself have some fun but make it spicy. I really related to Isabella's character. She is kind of coming from a place, she's writing a book, but she kind of just doesn't know where she's going with her life. Kai steps in and he just really encourages her to be the best version of herself and motivates her and letting her know that, you know, she can reach her dreams, that she can really become whatever she feels like she wants to become, you know. If you can dream it, you can do it. Walt Disney. Then I picked up King of Greed, and this follows Dominic and Alessandra Davenport. So Dominic pretty much grew up with nothing. He built himself up to be this insanely wealthy billionaire, and Alessandra is his college sweetheart. So they have been together for ages, but this man is married to his job. It's a second chance romance, and it made me want to scream into my pillow and sit in a corner. He was not paying attention to her. He was just married to his job at this point. He thought he was giving her the world, and all she wanted was him to love her. She decided that she wants more out of life, and then he was like, oh, no, my wife is leaving. I have to do something now. But it was a really good read. 4 stars all around. I loved it. Naturally, I picked up King of Sloth by Anna Huang. This follows Xavier and Sloane. Sloane is Xavier's publicist, and he's supposed to take over his dad's empire because his dad is very sick, but he is not having the bar of it. He does not want to do it, and he's trying to make Sloane's life as hard as possible until he doesn't, and sparks fly. So yeah, I would recommend. I would highly recommend. 4 stars. Then I decided I shall go back to cowboy romances and just live my best life, because why not? This follows Weston and Ada. They saw each other in the bar, their eyes locked across the room, and then they decided, you know, screw it, let's just do it. But the next morning when she arrived, Rebel Blue Ranch, she found out that Weston is her boss. So do with that what you will. I enjoyed this book. It wasn't a 5-star read for me, but it was really enjoyable. It was a good palate cleanser, and I think I gave it about 3.75 stars. But I would recommend it as a quick fun read. I really enjoyed it.
I realized I left out a book that I read in February, which is Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. So I read that right after I read Swift and Saddled. That is about Gus and Teddy. Now Teddy lost her job, and Gus is in desperate need of some help because he's running the ranch. He has a 6-year-old to take care of, and he just cannot do everything by himself. But the twist is he does not like Teddy. They are not a fan of each other. It's complete enemies to lovers. But later in the book, you find out why that is. It was a good book. I enjoyed it. It reminded me a lot of I think it's Reckless by Elsie Silver. I feel a lot of the books by Lila Sage is kind of similar to the Chestnut Spring series from Elsie Silver. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it maybe 3.75 or 4 stars. I can't remember. I'm not sure. I have to check up on that. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy their romance. It was good, and I recommend you read that one as well.
I also finished the last book in the Chestnut Spring series, which is Hopeless by Elsie Silver. And this book follows Bo, Eaton, and Bailey. So Bailey is kind of like the trash of the town, according to the town, because her family is just they're not good people. And he finds out that they have all just been treating her like trash, and he was like, ain't no way this is gonna happen. So he proposes to her, pun intended, that they get married. They do the beautiful fake engagement trope, and then surprise, surprise, they fall for each other. But it was a really good book. This book does deal with PTSD from being in the war, so just friendly reminder about a trigger warning if that is something you want to avoid. It is a bit of an age gap. It's not really centered around the ranch, so it's not really a cowboy-ish book, I'd say. It's more just kind of both of them trying to figure out their lives, trying to navigate what they're going to do next. And in the end, they figure that out. And last but not least, I read 1,000 Broken Pieces by Tilly Cole. If you want to get your heart stomped on, then set on fire, and then rebuilt in the softest way possible, this book is for you. This is a follow-up from 1,000 Boy Kisses, and Tilly Cole just lives to emotionally destroy you. It was a great book. It follows Savannah and Kale. Savannah is the sister to Poppy, who was in the first book. I would recommend reading 1,000 Boy Kisses just to get the full effect. I don't think it'll have the emotional impact if you read the second book without reading the first one. It is pretty much just a book dealing with a lot of grief, a lot of loss. So if that's something that's triggering, I don't recommend it. It was a very heavy book. It did deal with a lot of really hard topics. I really recommend it. I gave it 5 stars. I gave 1,000 Boy Kisses 5 stars as well. It was really good, but it was heart-wrenching, emotional damage, cry in the corner into your pillow. And that's a wrap on my January and February reads. Now I have a very important question to you. Which of these books have you already read, and which books do you think I absolutely need to pick up next? Also, if you want more chaotic book content, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit that bell, because we are just getting started. I will see you guys next time for more books, more chaos, more of me and my lame jokes and weirdness, and absolutely losing my mind over fictional characters. Bye!